Alright, welcome to a series, technically, that is just starting right now. But really, it's a series I've been doing my entire life. What I'm going to call it is Grandpa Went to the Fountain of Youth and Watched TikTok. Now, why would I call it that? That's a good question you didn't ask. The reason I call it this is because I, much like an elderly man, talk a lot about various topics of negligible relevance. So, I will call myself Grandpa, but I do not know any elderly people that have nearly as much knowledge of brain rot as I do. So, this is exactly the same as an elderly man who watched TikTok a lot and then found the Fountain of Youth, or the other way around. I don't know which order is more likely. But an elderly man found the internet and just immediately started consuming brain rot, and then he found the Fountain of Youth, and no one judged him anymore for talking about Tung 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 Sahur, which I am aware of, to my great dismay. I don't like that I'm aware of it, but I am. You know what I'm not aware of? What a girl looks like without clothes on. I've never seen it, and I don't think I will. That's a running bit of mine, that I will never, ever get a girlfriend in any regard. And I don't plan to, for varying reasons. For specific reasons I'm not allowed to share on the internet. I actually am allowed to share them, I just don't want to, because I like to stay mysterious and nonchalant, which if you knew me at all in the real world, which you don't, possibly, you might. A few people I actually know do watch this, but if you do know me, you know I'm in fact not nonchalant at all. I'm extremely chalant, really. So, there is that. And I don't know what to say, that's why I said there's that. You know that that is there. But I just have to say it because I need to fill space, which people do a lot. You know what else people do to fill space? Um. Stop. Stop doing that. Is one of the most aggravating things I've ever heard someone say. Really, it is. And I could also, right now, I could say something that is more aggravating. Like, if some guy said the Holocaust was okay, I'd probably be a little more angry about that than if he stuttered while saying it. But if he stuttered while saying it, I would be more angry. I would be more angry. Like, it's bad he has that opinion, right? And I am fully acknowledging that. But if he stutters while saying it, I'm gonna be more angry than if he didn't stutter. Because at least if he didn't stutter, he's sure of himself, right? I mean, I don't like your opinion, but I can applaud your confidence and articulation at the very least. And that is the very least. But you can't even say it well? Come on. People say and I really don't understand it. I know it's designed to fill space. I know the reason people say if you Google it, is to fill space. It's because they don't like being silent. It's really common in people that grew up in households where there was a lot of action, there was a lot of commotion in their household. Which, if there were a lot of kids in your household, there was definitely a lot of action. Laugh now. But if there were a lot of people, you had a lot of siblings maybe, or there was just a lot going on in your home, and it was very hard to get someone's attention, especially that of your parents, because for some reason everything comes down to your childhood all the time. Ever go to the therapist, they just say, your parents, and then that's it. They just wait until you come back, and then they can tell you, your parents, again, because they don't really want to help you. Why would a therapist want to help you? That doesn't make any sense. When a therapist helps you, they stop working. They don't do anything. When you feel better, your therapist is obsolete. Your therapist doesn't pay bills by you thanking them for saving their life. They pay their bills by you wanting to die, but not quite doing it. But, yeah, therapists. Okay. That's okay. I feel like therapists don't want you to get better. I feel like it's in their best interest that you are staying the same. Right? Their goal is that you don't improve, not necessarily you get worse. A therapist really doesn't want you to get worse. They just want you to be bad enough you need to keep going. Right? I feel like that's a really cynical? Actually, it's kind of cynical, right? Because I'm assuming they're just not capable of being a good person for the sake of it. But it is a very pessimistic or cynical worldview. But I feel if you're a really logical person, you would think that, right? If you were trying to be hyper logical as a therapist, it would be in your best interest to not help people enough for them to stop going. And I understand there are people that are mentally well who do go to therapy, but that's not most of them. Most people go to therapy, at least at the start, because they're mentally unwell. And generally, if someone remains mentally unwell, they'll keep going to therapy, right? If they get mentally worse or don't notice any improvements at all, they may blame their therapist and put them at fault and then stop going. But if they're seeing small or periodic improvements, even if those improvements fall back eventually, by seeing improvements in any regard, they will come to believe, hopefully, for this, or therapist Scrooge, as we'll call him, Dr. Scrooge, is the hyperlogical therapist, that's his new name, for hopefully for Dr. Scrooge, they'll see enough improvements sometimes that they're going to keep going. This is a really bad run, no, it's not. They're going to keep coming. And they need to because that's how Scrooge makes his money. But do therapists do that? Because they want to, right? If a therapist wants money, they're going to do that. Obviously, like I said, there are therapists who are simply good people, I know, that are just of good moral character and are willing to help people without the need for personal gain, right? Which is actually a topic that's really frequently argued. Cynics say you aren't able to do things for no personal gain. People say it's not possible. And I know it sounds crazy because if you help someone and they don't give you anything in return, that's a kind thing to do, right? That's selfless. But some people argue that isn't a selfless act because you're only doing it because you enjoy helping people, right? You only do it because you enjoy helping them. Helping them brings you joy. If it didn't bring you any joy, you wouldn't do it. And that's a really hard thing to argue against because you can never really prove it wrong. You could say if you help this person, like you could say, for example, in someone sacrificing their life, you could say that is a selfless act. You get the worst punishment, the worst thing that could happen to you happens as a result of helping this person, but you still do it. But is it really selfless? Is it really a selfless act? Because it may not be. It may not be, because I guarantee there are people that sacrifice their lives and feel some sense of accomplishment, pride, or purpose in doing so. Right? I think just about everyone that does it does that. They feel some good emotion by doing so. Right? And because of that, that means they're not entirely doing it for the other person or people, whatever it may be. They're doing it for themselves, at least to some degree. Now, I'm personally not a cynic. I do believe people are capable of good. Most cynics believe animals are capable of good, just not humans in particular for whatever reason. And that's honestly reasonable. I think humans are capable of the most evil, I think, but I think they're also capable of the most good. It's just we as people tend to be intelligent enough to dislike the world around us and not be kind because of it. It's very interesting. It's very interesting because we have this sense of innocence. This is present in children or animals where they have no reason to dislike the world around them and are thus really, really kind and really, really happy, which is something we all want and none of us do, though it feels like a conscious decision. It feels like a conscious decision to some degree. I understand, yes, if your life is bad, it's bad, right? It's not just good because you've decided it is, even though ask any existentialist, they will disagree with me on that. But life doesn't just become good because you've decided it has, but it almost does to a point. It is sort of your choice to care, right? If the world is just generally bad, it is entirely within your decision making if you care, if that affects you in any substantial way. A good example of this is politics. You aren't directly affected by politics most of the time, especially most Americans. I have never had politics affect me directly. Yes, taxes increase and things sometimes get more expensive, but excluding that, it's really not a point of contingency for me, or contention, whatever the word is. It's really not a problem for me. Anyone sitting in office or the president has never affected me. This is not a commentary on any president in particular. I need that to be known. But if the president died right now, I don't believe I would care. I would be confounded as to how someone did that because, right, yeah, I forgot he was president. They tried to assassinate this guy and they failed. So I'd be confounded as to how they did this time, right? If they couldn't do it the first time, I don't know how they did the second time, but I don't necessarily care. It's not going to affect my personal life. All of my social life will be the same. And this is especially true for in the case of the assassination of a president, because the person that follows them is the vice president, who is generally a person of nearly identical views, who will make nearly identical decisions. So really, nothing is going to change for people who care about politics either, unless you care a lot about the speeches, and then in that case, yes, things will change for you, but you're weird. And if you do care about the guy giving the speech, yeah, I guess it will probably affect you. But if you're not weird, then no, you're not gonna care. It's never gonna matter for you, right? So I don't know why people choose to care about politics, really. I don't want to talk about politics, right? I don't want to talk about politics. Politics is an annoying subject because people just get angry a lot. I don't plan to do that. And this is a really common time that you'd see a video where I'd go from I don't plan to do that to near immediately being really angry. This would be humorous. But I won't be doing that. And I don't care that much about politics. Politics are, again, irrelevant to me, and it's senseless to care that much. Other thing, actually, this is another good analogy that people won't care as much about or get as angry about. Celebrities. No one cares what celebrities are doing, really. Well, people do care, and I don't know why. I don't care who Selena Gomez is dating right now. It doesn't matter. Will it affect her music? I don't know. It wouldn't matter if it did. I don't listen to Selena Gomez, right? And even if I did, it wouldn't affect her music if she was dating someone or married someone, whatever it may be. So why at all would we decide to worry ourselves with this? And I understand you can do it for entertainment. That's fine. If you're entertained by celebrity drama, that makes sense. But there are people that stress, people that are worried about celebrity drama. There's a real conflict in their lives because because Billie Eilish has mental health problems. Firstly, obviously she does. I I don't know why anyone is surprised by this fact, but second, I don't care. Why do we care? I care as much about Billie Eilish as I do any other stranger. If a random guy walked up to me and said, I'm depressed, I'm sorry, man. That sucks for you. Tell someone that knows about you and cares. 'Cause I don't. I don't have to, and I shouldn't. It'd be weird if I cared. It'd be weird if I went up to this guy, or he came up to me and he said, Hey, man, I'm depressed. And I'm like, F word. I just start crying. That would be bad. That would be really weird. I shouldn't care that much. It shouldn't affect me to that degree. But people do that with celebrities, and it's very strange. Because they don't care. They don't even know you. That's like the other guy just publishing it on the internet and then me sobbing over this fact, and he doesn't even know. We're getting dangerously close to not even being an analogy, actually. This is just a literal situation that occurs. It just happens. But people do need to calm down with that. It is a problem. Also, there's a big argument. There was a big argument. I'm very late on this trend, like I am all of the other ones. But there was a big argument. It did exist, obviously. People had always discussed it. Like, would you rather fight 1,000 or 100 duck-sized toddlers or one toddler-sized duck? Like, those have always been things we've asked, but one that's become extremely common recently is 100 men versus one gorilla. That's not very recent, but it is recent enough for me to know about it and not have forgotten, and I don't think you guys did either. The 100 men versus one gorilla is an absolute stomp for the men. Gorilla is not winning this, I can guarantee. How do I know this? Well, gorillas, you can get really nerdy about it, get really scientific, and say gorillas have really bad muscular endurance, which they do. Gorillas are extremely strong, but they have almost entirely fast twitch muscle fibers. This means gorillas can produce a lot of force, but not for very long because of how inefficient their oxygen is. They use so much energy that they don't have any left for later in the fight. A gorilla could generously run through 50 men, but then it would just pass out. I don't like run through 50 men. I don't like that phrasing. But then it would just pass out from exhaustion, and you could punch it forever until it just died of old age, whatever it may be. It wouldn't last long enough on cardio alone. Even if it was infinitely strong, if it wasn't strong enough to kill everyone in the first few minutes, it would stop. Also, we're assuming for this hypothetical that the gorilla and the men don't leave. We're assuming their only option is to fight, because if 100 men did attack a gorilla, it would run. Gorillas are not very, actually, they are threatening, but they're not very aggressive. Gorillas are not aggressive at all. In fact, if you ended up in a gorilla cage, gorilla enclosure, I think they're called actually, like we're being politically correct. It's like actor instead of actress now. I don't know. But if you fall into a gorilla enclosure, they actually don't care that much. If you curl up into a ball and just sit there, they'll chill out. They'll chill out. The only time they won't chill out is when people start screaming, which is why Harambe got shot. Harambe got shot because a kid fell into his cage, people started screaming, and Harambe was losing his mind because he was scared. If you don't scream, if someone falls into a gorilla enclosure, no one screams, and the dude that fell in just curls up into a ball and does not look at the gorilla. If you look in its eyes, it's going to get angry. It's going to think you're threatening it. It's the same dude as like some guy just falling into your home and then shaking his fist at you. That's threatening, right? If you're really angry and someone just comes up, drops through the sky and just starts like flipping you off and making an angry face at you, you'd probably fight him. That would make sense. But gorilla wouldn't care. It wouldn't care. If you fell into its closure, you just curled up into a ball and did not look at it, it would chill. It would actually chill out. Someone could just come get you. Like someone could just walk in there and get you. Someone that's trained to handle gorillas, they could just come in there. They're really good. You can chill with gorillas. If you're with like a trained guy or you're a trained guy, you can just chill with them. They're cool. Just never think you're better than them, because they will kill you. They can. They can. A gorilla could 100% kill you. They weigh something like 400 pounds. I think they weigh something like 400 pounds. The most comparable human being to a gorilla is Eddie Hall, who weighs barely more than an average gorilla, and he has a myostatin deficiency, which means he doesn't have the hormone that limits the amount of muscle you can have. It's infinite. He has no limit on the amount of muscle that he can have. Myostatin is meant to stop you from getting too much skeletal muscle because it's actually really unhealthy. Bodybuilders have crazy health problems for this exact reason, and humans develop myostatin to prevent them from developing muscle in just an uncontrolled way, which is going to cause heart problems and things like that. And And natural selection selected people who didn't get heart problems as often, which were people with some amount of myostatin. So, but Eddie Hall has a myostatin deficiency, so he has much less limit on the amount of skeletal muscle he's allowed to gain, which is why he can look so fat but also still have visible abs. Obviously, though, Eddie Hall at his heaviest was about 450, I believe. Eddie Hall at his heaviest was about 450, and this was right before or after either one, they're the same. And this is right around his 500 kg deadlift, which is still the world record. I know Hafthor Bjornsson got 501 technically, but that was not official. That wasn't in competition. It's not verifiable. And also, I just like thinking Eddie Hall got it. So, Eddie Hall still has the deadlift world record of 500 kilograms. That is the heaviest any human being in history has deadlifted, and generally, heavier people move more weight, which is why he was so fat. That was 450, and he was the strongest man on the planet at the time. There was likely not another man stronger than. There wasn't another man in the world stronger than Eddie Hall in that moment, and there likely won't be for a very long time. And Eddie Hall, at that moment, is still not nearly as strong as a gorilla. At all. He's really, really far off. Painfully far off. Way further off than you think he is, actually. Gorillas are so immensely strong. That's why this is a debate. That's why anyone even considers this question. If gorillas weren't so insanely strong, people wouldn't even ask. It'd be an obvious answer. 100 men. It's 100 people. 100 people is a lot of people. 100 people. 100 people is a lot. That's many, many people. I don't know how big a stack of 100 papers is, but it's a decent amount. And you know, paper is pretty thin, so 100 is a lot. It's a considerable number of anything. So even though gorillas are insanely strong, they would not beat 100 men. One gorilla would not beat 100 men. One silverback, which is the one we're going for, one silverback gorilla would not. It's gonna die. Okay, one silverback gorilla would not beat 100 men. It just wouldn't happen. And the reason for that, again, is endurance. Gorillas are insanely strong. I just explained to you why, but they don't have nearly enough cardio. Humans have insane cardio. Humans, ancient humans, cavemen and such, which sounds kind of mean because they were really smart. They weren't dumb. They weren't that stupid, but cavemen would hunt largely by chasing animals to exhaustion. That's generally what humans would do. Humans would hunt for days. Humans would chase some prey down for days. Multiple days. Over the course of multiple days, they would chase down an animal until it grew tired and collapsed from exhaustion. Humans have been really smart and really good at distance running forever. That's their entire thing. That's why we're bipedal. We're really slow, but bipedal running and walking is so much more efficient, extraordinarily more efficient than quadrupedal walking. It is. It's just way better for energy. I'm not entirely sure why, but it's just way better. It is slower. It is slower. This isn't actually a. This is just a fault of the mechanism we walk on. 2 legs. If we walked on 4 legs, we would be faster if we knew how to do it. In fact, there is speculation that, given enough time and investment in it through training and such, quadrupedal runners, which do exist, there is a world record for the fastest 100-meter ran on 4 limbs, that time could drop very quickly, actually, very soon, below below the 100 meters on 2 legs. It could get there. There just isn't enough popularity, and we don't have good enough techniques for it yet, but we definitely could. My point is that 4 legs are better than 2 for speed, but not for endurance. Most animals run on 4 legs. Ostriches don't, and they're really fast. I know, but they're an outlier. They're not the rule. But not ostriches, emus, I think both actually. Emus are the exception, not the rule. Not everything on 2 legs will be that fast. Most things on 2 legs aren't. But humans would chase things down to exhaustion. There was a story of a farmer who had, I believe it was a cheetah. Cheetahs are known for having horrible endurance. Who, I believe, chased down a cheetah for 3 miles until it collapsed from exhaustion and he killed it. I don't know if he killed it. It may have been a different animal, but I know it was a farmer who chased down some animal for 3 miles before it collapsed from exhaustion. So humans have really good endurance. That's their whole thing. But even if we didn't have very good endurance compared to the gorilla, even if we had the same endurance as the gorilla, so bad, it's still 100 people. If someone gets tired, there are 99, optimally, there are 99 other people there who aren't. It's probably not the case, but if a guy gets tired and he isn't like disabled in any way, hasn't lost enough limbs to stop him from running, he could leave, tag himself out for a bit, rest, and then come back in when he's not tired anymore. The gorilla can't do that. It doesn't have anyone to tag with. It's completely alone. The gorilla is losing. It has to lose. There's no way it doesn't lose. There are too many people. If you were attacked by 100 squirrels, you would die. If you were attacked by 100 rats, you would die. I know there are 100 rats. I know rats are really small, and I know they can eat you. You cannot bite a gorilla. Their skin is way too thick for you